I'm going to pause the recording because it's not quite 7 o'clock, and I'll restart it once the meeting's called to order. Okay. Okay, so I've started the recording. It's Monday, October 4th at 7:04 p.m. And I'm going to call this meeting of the Wellfleet Affordable Housing Trust to order. We presently have 5 of 7 trustees present. Mr. DeVasto and Ms. Agar are missing. This meeting is being conducted by video conference in accordance with the open meeting law. The meeting link is on the posted agenda. The meeting is being recorded by the town and may be recorded by anyone else, provided that they inform the chair that they are doing so and they don't disrupt the conduct of the meeting by recording. So with all of that administrivia out of the way, public comments, announcements from the public, since we have one member of the public present. No. Okay. Nothing there. Housing related news, and there's, I have a couple of things. One of them is, excuse me, in response to my memo to the town administrator about audit services, he responded to me and informed me that the audit for fiscal 21 that they're currently contracted for will also include the Affordable Housing Trust. So we will meet our statutory obligation to have an audit done on the town's dime in this one case. I also sent the memo to Ryan Curley about the short-term rental tax, and I believe that will be on next Tuesday's select board meeting for discussion. So I'm planning to present. Ryan said he would try and do it as early as he could, but who knows? And certainly anybody else is welcome to be there and to chime in. Most of what I would want to say is in the memo, but go ahead, Elaine. Was that Elaine?
I was just going to ask, when is that meeting?
It's October 12th. Probably. Are they at 7 or have they gone back to 6 p.m. now?
I can look as long as I know the date.
Yeah. So there's that. I also, and it's too bad that Mike is not here. He reported to me that he had a conversation with Charlie Sumner about cryptocurrency and online donations, and the response was, yes, we can do that, and we'll effort that. I don't have any concrete steps to report, but at least he's agreed. Gary?
Just in that, as you mentioned that, we finally decided that we couldn't do the Bitcoin based upon the email we got back from is it Danya?
Danya.
And our benefactor graciously provided us with a $10,000 cash donation, which we received on Friday.
Very nice. Let's see. What else was I going to say? Yeah, at the last selectmen's meeting, they had a discussion about the remaining COVID relief funds and decided that they didn't have any other use for the balance and it was permissible to use it for affordable housing. So they were going to commit it to the Affordable Housing Trust. I believe, I don't have the exact figure off the top of my head, but I believe it's somewhere around $140,000 this year and $140,000 next year. And I've been through the federal guidance on it, and it does look like we can use that for affordable housing.
Is there a time frame on it?
I think it's fiscal 24 is the deadline. So it's not, we don't have to use it, in a matter of a few weeks. And I don't know what the timing of its arrival is either.
Wonderful. That's
I
great.
also checked with the town clerk since I was in town hall, and Elaine and I were there Friday. And on my way out, I asked the town clerk if she had heard anything back from the Attorney General's office on the bylaws that were voted at the June town meeting. And she said, no, she hadn't, but their time to react to them was not yet up. It was soon, but it hadn't expired yet. So the ADU bylaw, the trust bylaw, that stuff is still pending review by the AG's office, but that should be done soon. Let's see. So that's all I had in terms of housing related activities. I don't know if anybody had anything else.
Really.
Acceptance of online donations to the trust. Well, the only activity was what Mike DeVasto reported to me from his conversation with Charlie Sumner last week. So, and apparently, it's possible for anybody to open up a Bitcoin wallet and accept the transfer of Bitcoin. I think the issues there are, number one, regulatory. What are our reporting requirements? And number two, I think that we would have to immediately convert it to cash. I don't think that the Bitcoin is an acceptable form of investment of town funds. So if we did that, we'd have to really liquidate it right away. I don't know what transaction fees are like. I don't know what conversion fees are like. So I have no idea what kind of overhead is present in that, but it does sound like we ought to figure it out because sooner or later somebody else will want to do that as well. Gary?
Yeah, two things, Harry. So we are going, once we make a recommendation on 95 Lawrence, we're going to look at redesigning the website. So I think it would be good to see if Michael had a report from the town administrator that said that we could actually accept online contributions, whatever the currency.
Yep.
So that would be great. Number one. And the second thing I would report is that the housing partnership at their meeting on Thursday voted unanimously to support the trust request to have the short-term rental tax designated for affordable housing.
Okay, I'm gonna remember that.
I think the Housing Authority is meeting on Thursday, and that's a topic of conversation.
Yep, that's on the agenda for this Thursday.
Okay. Okay. Mass Housing Partnership Technical Assistance Grant. We had a meeting last week. The scoping committee did. And I think we had mentioned at the August 20th meeting that we kind of got some, here comes Mike. We kind of got some little bit of pushback from Mass Housing Partnership because our mission statement was sufficiently vague so that no one who wasn't intimately involved in housing would know what we did. So with that in mind, we worked on narrowing or being more concise and more specific. And I can pull up the document that came from that. Let's see. Before I do that, I should make a note of. So Mike DeVastos joined the meeting. And let's see if I can. Oh, okay. So share screen. So here is the document Andrea generated after that meeting, and you'll see that in particular, the mission statement is considerably briefer than the one we had adopted. So I guess it's up for consideration whether we want to go to something like this or stick with what we did before. Also, as part of that meeting, we talked extensively about goals for the trust. And this section here is what we discussed. And then finally, there's a set of strategies which we really didn't discuss much at all. But so, comments on the mission statement, Jim?
Well, so were they saying, Harry, that the statement we're looking at was too brief?
No, this was. It'd be hard to make this one much briefer.
Right.
No, they said that the one that we had adopted was really not specific enough to tell somebody who wasn't already involved in affordable housing exactly what the trust did. And so this was what came out of the meeting with Shelley Goring from Mass Housing Partnership, Andrea Aldana from CDP, and those of us that were on the scoping committee. Somewhere, I think probably in the minutes from the last meeting, from the August 20th meeting, we have the previous mission statement, but it was, much more general in terms of talking about housing as a goal rather than the trust's role in housing.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, she had identified and that the trust was development and also financing. So we were trying to highlight those two things, although we don't use either of those words in this, but.
No, but
Harry,
yes, Mike.
we do have, I can't remember exactly what our mission statement was before. I don't know if anyone
Oh.
has that.
I'll see if I can locate it. Hang on. Let's see. I don't know whether it was September. Feel free to continue to.
I just was wondering if we should have something instead of just create affordable housing. That say something about housing opportunities generally, I guess.
Let me just see if I can find it here. Was it this July? I don't remember. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it must have been in July. I was trying to find it in my email, but I don't think we actually got an email.
No, it would have been in. Oh, here we go. Of course, it's over 2 pages, but it's this this part that's highlighted here.
Well, so it does say, the first thing it says in there is create.
Yeah,
So, I mean, were they adverse to adding the section on preserving and supporting?
no, it wasn't so much that as that it doesn't really direct people in any specific direction. You know, of course, we want to have quality homes. Of course, we want them to be year-round homes. And I don't know, I mean,
It's
I
kind of
think,
funny
Harry-
though, that they pushed back and said, if people read this, they wouldn't really know what we did if they didn't know about affordable housing, where to me, ours is so much more specific
I do,
And-
I agree.
and speaks to what we really would do versus theirs seems just kind of like whatever. And I'm not really sure it matters, but I just find it interesting.
I think that part of the MHPs was that the housing authorities was so similar that therefore that made it different,
Mm.
to tell the difference. And as the housing authority is morphing more towards programs now, as opposed to doing everything that we used to do,
mhm.
it may mean if the housing authority rewrites theirs, then this could, some version of this could still serve well for the trust.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the first sentence of this original mission statement that we approved is more specific as far as what the trust does. It's not just affordable homes, or what
Mhm.
we aim to do, what our goal is. And, also to be able to support an adequate supply of year-round quality. You don't have to put quality in there. I mean, that kind of goes without saying, but I think maybe it's good in the mission statement so that in the future that the trust is true to its mission and considers quality when they're creating these things, because it's in the mission statement. So I definitely prefer the first sentence in the original one here. I don't know if we need to put the area median income stuff in the mission statement. That may be something that should just be able to be referenced.
I think that what you're suggesting there, Mike, those are qualifiers. It kind of defines it more, but it's not necessary
The
in the
mission,
mission statement itself.
right, exactly. Like maybe eliminate that qualifier. Also quality, maybe eliminate that just to pare it down a little bit.
Right.
But I think the last sentence here, the trust works collaboratively to expand year-round housing supply available to people of all stages. We could probably get rid of the word collaboratively, just to simplify it, because I don't know if that's really necessarily the mission of the trust.
Well, yeah, and I don't really have this formally on an agenda to vote to change the mission statement, but I wanted to
Oh, okay.
bring you guys up to date on kind of what's going on, and if we do want to consider changing it, then I'll put it on an agenda.
Okay. Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, I mean, you look at this, I mean, there's a difference between a mission statement and a goal, for example, and this sentence says the goal is, but really the mission statement is to housing for people, that fall in that range.
Okay.
I don't know. So,
Another,
I'll do whatever you guys like. We can either not do anything or put it on a future agenda, but that's kind of what came out of the last discussion.
Can I make one suggestion, Harry, with regard to
Of course.
MHP? We
Mhm.
invited them to a future partnership meeting where the
Yep.
members could work with them to hone our mission statement and goals. And the same kind of,
Mhm,
maybe we should invite them to a trust meeting
mhm.
so that we can, all the members can hear what their thinking was and also express
Okay,
what they think.
mhm.
There's no-
Okay,
There's no urgency to this and,
yeah,
in the next couple of months.
okay. Um, let's see, of more substance, less of, let me just, let me stop sharing first of all. Okay, possible housing needs um,
Harry, you frozen.
Harry's frozen.
I thought it always looks like that.
my cable modem is dying.
Could you hear that we
Yeah.
were saying you were frozen?
No, but I could tell that nothing was happening. My cable modem is dying and I expect a new one in a couple of days, but it's operating at about 1% of its former speed. So, I apologize if it's, and everybody has stopped again.
Hmm.
Are we back?
Yeah, we
No,
gotcha.
This is going to be a long meeting if,
No.
We're halfway through.
yes. So the CPC is opening up another window for requests. Do you want to expand on that, Gary?
This would be the normal, quote unquote,
Okay.
request period, which this year we've decided extends until applications are open until November 15th for a process that would be approved at the spring 2022 town meeting. So the question is are there specific requests that the trust wants to pursue?
Are we doing that or the needs right now?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was
Uh,
about,
I wasn't sure.
I'm sorry, Harry.
Okay, well, I thought we were talking about whether we should be making an additional request to the CPC for CPA funds,
Okay,
and whether that's for needs or for something else,
I did have some thoughts on it, but I think a lot of these are sort of contingent on other things. With respect to 95 Lawrence, when
Mhm.
EPA commitment be needed?
Well,
And is that something we would include in a November request?
we would have
This is for,
recommended to the,
I'm sorry, Harry.
presumably, the screening committee will have recommended to the select board a developer, and the select board will either act on or want to deliberate on it themselves. So I don't think we will, I think the developer is going to put together is going to be probably they,
We can't even read his lips.
no.
I'll
Mhm.
give you, in terms of a timeframe to consider.
I
If
guess,
that we need it in next year, then we should consider putting in a request, because this is money that would not become available until July 1 of 2022. If we thought it could wait another year, because we have no assurance that there will be a fall town meeting, then it would be for the meeting of 2023 in the spring of 2023. And so can it wait 18 months, whatever commitment we're going to make?
Gary, I think that in order to put the funding package together, they first have to have the comprehensive permit approved by the ZBA. So that probably does push it out a bit. And in many instances, it's the developer that does make the request to the CPA. They might also make a request to the trust. So it's kind of a decision of, do we want to put that money on hold ahead of time, or do we want to wait and see, you know?
It's not really my question, it's a guns and butter kind of thing. So
Mhm.
I think we need it in the next 18 months. Is that our first priority? My other thought was, we're talking about looking at the acquisition of private land. And if that's the case, do we want to try and ask for some money to support that effort? It's still a little unclear to me how we actually buy that, or is that something the town provides the funding for?
To answer that, and that's, we do have that RFP later on the agenda. One of the terms of the RFP is that people submitting proposals have to deal with the fact that the funding is going to come from a town meeting,
Right.
that it's not necessarily going to be on hand. And in fact, the funds that we have on hand would not be sufficient to purchase
This is going to be a long meeting.
I know.
RFP for purchase.
Maybe, Carrie, maybe you need to call in.
That could be. Let me see how that I'm not even sure I have the Zoom app on my phone, but let's see what I can do.
I don't think you need to. You can just dial the number. Do you want me to tell it to you?
We need the rest of it too, the code and
Okay, well, hang on.
I have it all.
Okay, go ahead.
It's 1-929-205-6099.
Okay, I didn't get too many of those, so
Say it again.
I didn't get very many of those numbers, so let's see here. 1-929-205.
205.
I've got the 6099,
Yep.
and then there's a passcode here, I guess.
104278.
Enter your meeting ID followed by pound.
The meeting ID is 880
0.
3634 3181.
You entered 8806. This meeting ID does not exist. Please re-enter your meeting ID followed by pound.
880 3634 3181.
Enter your participant ID followed by pound. Otherwise, just press pound to continue. Please enter the meeting passcode followed by pound.
104278.
You are in the meeting now. There are 7 participants in the meeting. This meeting is being recorded. You are muted. You can mute or unmute yourself by pressing *6. You are unmuted.
Okay, I think I'm back.
Great.
Yes, indeed.
Okay. Okay, there we go. So let's see if this works better. We were talking about requests to the CPC, and what I got from the fragments of the conversation I heard was we were, oh my goodness.
Okay, let's see if that's better.
Harry, I think, yeah, you muted your video.
That should be fine.
Okay, how's that?
Not good.
Okay, how's that?
Sounds better.
Okay, I muted the computer. Okay, that was fun. So we were talking about possible funding requests to the CPC. I think as far as purchases of, additional property, the RFP does say that it's dependent on town meeting action. And my guess is that given what we're seeing in terms of real estate prices, asking the CPC for another $300,000 or $400,000 isn't going to cut it on that. That's probably going to be something that's a bigger ask to town meeting to just bond in general rather than exclusively use CPC funds for. Does that summarize where we were on this?
Yes, I just asked two questions, Harry. One was, did we need money for 95 Lawrence this coming town meeting? And the second was with regard to land acquisition. And if the answer is no and no, if we want to put in a CPC request, then the third item I had as a possibility was ADU support programs. I don't know if we're ready to go forward with that or not, but that would be a possibility.
I think the answer to the first two is probably no and no.
Right.
So maybe, so that leaves us with ADU support. Now, we don't really have a program yet to support that, so I think we've been talking about some kind of a disappearing loan. So that somebody who wanted to construct an ADU and needed financial support could borrow money from the trust and have a portion of it forgiven annually in exchange for a restriction on affordable housing that would run contemporaneously with the loan. Is that where kind of we were on that?
Elaine, this is before my time, but do you have the program that you ran from the Housing Authority for the AADU support? The one we gave a loan of $15,000 towards construction, or?
Yeah, it was a loan, not forgivable, unfortunately. They're supposed to pay it back by 2032. We've actually had one person pay it back already. If I was going to do it again, I would do it as a forgivable loan. But I think if we get the AG approval, then we get to work on this. It feels a little premature to me.
I don't have any problem with not making a request. I'm just saying if we want to make a request,
Mhm.
November 15th for a July 1 award,
Mhm.
now would be the time to do it. Do you by any chance have the verbiage associated with that old program?
I might. It was Paul Pilcher drew up the, actually you can still, on the Barnstable County Registry of Deeds, we still have two that have that loan. And so I don't know if the verbiage is part of what's at the registry, but I can try to find that.
It's worth a look, no matter whether we go for this program or something else.
The other thing we could do that's a no-brainer is just ask for the 10% set aside to go into the trust.
We certainly could do that.
Yeah, and perhaps we should do something just to continue to request funding for housing support from the
Right.
CPC, excuse me.
That's likely to be between $50,000 and $60,000.
Mhm. Okay, well, shall we do that? I think it makes sense to do that.
Mhm.
I agree.
Yeah.
Members of the committee will ask, well, what do you want the money for? So we should come up with, these are the possible uses.
Well,
Mhm.
how about as a down payment for the public RFP? While the final money is going to come from town meeting, it would be nice for us to be able to at least put a down payment down on a
Mhm.
property.
The good faith money that would go with some kind of transaction like that?
Mhm. I
Okay.
mean, I don't know, since we don't know what the land is, whether that's good enough or we should have something else, but
Okay, I mean, I think that's at least passes the lab test, you know.
Okay. So who typically puts these requests together?
the
Elena,
chair of the housing trust, of course.
Like, that's what I thought was gonna happen.
you know what, Harry? I think this one will be relatively easy. We will attach the RFP draft to the application, which is straightforward. A lot of the verbiage doesn't change in terms of the need for housing in the town. I can send you the last one we did for the buy down.
Okay,
And then we could just say the purpose of this is the good faith money, should any purchase be made. And, you know, if no purchase is made, it will go to the general trust.
I mean, Harry,
Okay.
in the past, the Housing Authority has done it because we were the trustees of the trust. Happy to work that up.
Okay,
I'll send you the last one we did to you and Elaine, which was for the buy down. And again, the format doesn't change. And we can attach the RFP to that and just moderate the language a bit.
okay.
I just
I
wonder
can
if
do
we
that.
have, I wonder if we have to be that specific, because it is totally legal just to request a sum of money for no particular purpose to go into the trust. And we have done that several times. So I don't know if we want to tie it to this, or if we want to just try to go, it's a small amount, go for the general benefit of building the trust. It's to be a
No, I
devil's
think-
advocate here.
I think if I was following what Gary said, that with the request, we could style it as money for a earnest money for a contract, or failing to identify a piece of land to purchase to the trust for general support of affordable housing.
Okay,
So we wouldn't have to give it back if we didn't find anything to buy.
no, we don't want to do that.
Hmm,
Okay,
true.
I will send you that tomorrow.
okay, so I will get that done in time to meet the deadline. Let's see. Similarly, do we want to request any funds just as general budget money from the next annual town meeting for just support for the trust's activities, administrative support, or, the whole range of kind of operating expenses that a trust has. We have some auditing responsibilities. And along these lines, I did have a conversation with a member of the Orleans Affordable Housing Trust. And he told me that they rely on the town's accountant and treasurer for financial services. They don't have an independent financial operation. But, I know by sort of analogy, the two enterprise funds the town has reimburse the town for, out of their budgets for those kinds of services.
So the enterprise fund, like at the marina, has its reimburses the town for accounting.
Accounting, payroll, unemployment compensation, and all those little things that the town pays that are related to marina employees and processing marina receipts and expenditures. And for the marina, I think it's $50,000 or $60,000 a year.
Wow.
And for the water department, it's a smaller number, I believe, but I don't have it off the top of my head.
With the marina, though, there's a lot of small transactions that have to get processed through. I mean,
Yeah.
this isn't the same kind of same amount of work, I would think.
Yeah. And I was just thinking about it in terms of, well, it's another source of funding where we might be able to ask for money, and if we can tie it to something specific, then that takes care of those expenses, and we won't have to look for funds elsewhere to do that.
Sounds like a prudent plan.
Right, why don't we ask for 25,000 for administrative support? That would buy
Mhm.
some secretarial work, for lack of a better word, and as well as to cover the costs associated with the audit or any other land acquisition related fees.
Yeah, we probably have until February to resolve this, so I don't think
Right.
it's an emergency, but I think it was worth talking about.
Yep.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I think to the extent we can get expenses defrayed out of some other revenue stream, we're
Right.
reserving other funds for more direct housing expenditures, so.
Traditionally, the housing authority receives $5,000 in the town budget, a modest.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah,
But then we also did our CPA grant for housing specialist services for, up to 50,000 a year. We're only using about half of that. And that was another one of my questions, as whether under that contract, we can utilize any of those services for the trust. Something to talk about.
yep, who has the contract? Right, I mean, where's the document?
It's a CPA contract document.
Mary Rogers has the contract. It's a contract between the CPC and actually the town and the housing authority.
Okay,
But that will run out in about another year or two, so it's
Mhm.
good to think of a plan for the trust to be have what we need.
Jim,
He's
you
talking to
can't
somebody
hear
else.
me, or I can't.
You're muted, Jim.
Okay,
Sorry about that.
that's all right.
Now, mine keeps freezing on me.
Oh, okay, boy. When technology works, it's great, and when it doesn't, it's not great.
This is the first time we've had this.
Mhm, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a 3-year-old piece of equipment that just decided to die on me.
Hmm.
So it'll be fixed before the next meeting. Okay. Have we exhausted this one?
Well, have we decided to make a request or to the town, in the town budget?
I'll
Motion.
put something together that we can approve at at a future meeting, because we're not really rushed on this one. We've probably got until February to do it. So that's on my list of things that I need to do. I think I've gone, as far as the 2 RFPs go, I think I've gone as far as I can go with them. And the question is, you know, who's going to polish those up and get them ready to release? The 90 Freeman Ave one, I posted both of those to Dropbox and sent you a link. I think the RFP itself is in good shape. I think the attachments less so. One of them was a PDF that I couldn't do anything with, and the other one was pretty, really needed a big rework. But so I'm wondering, the Housing Authority had Peter Freeman do them for them in the past, or somebody else, or just the assistant town administrator, or?
The assistant town administrator. Harry, do you want, I did read over the Freeman Ave. Do you want some questions now, or do you want me to just send them to you?
Just send them to me. I've got it in front of me, so if you want to ask, we can talk about it.
It's up to you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Is it the, I'm not at all sure that, is it the Housing Authority that owns the property now, Elaine?
It still belongs to the town.
That's what I thought. So it's the town issuing this RFP with the Housing Authority, or is it just the town?
Well, right now it just says the town through its housing authority.
Right, I didn't, wasn't sure what the, yeah. So it's the town that is,
It's really styled as a town of Wellfleet document, I think.
yeah. So so I'm just questioning where later on it says ownership. If it's one house, Harry, I don't think we can ask for local preference.
Okay.
In C, it says that the LDA is subject to DHCD approval. I don't think that's the case, Elaine.
No, I think that was just for Durkey Lane. It was just worked out between Habitat and the
Right.
attorneys and ourselves,
I
the
think we
housing
can get rid
authority.
of that sentence that's at the end of that paragraph that says DHCD approval.
Okay, let's see here.
And the other one refers to CPA funding, which I don't know that we should put that into this RFP. They can certainly ask for funding, but shouldn't be a,
Listen, are we talking about Part C, project description, or am I looking in the wrong place?
in C, it's in where it talks about local preference, number one, and number two is the LDA requiring DHCD approval. D, it talks about who owns the land. It also talks about CPA funding. And also in D, uses basements plural, it should be singular, but we really want them to connect to town water on Freeman Ave. So we should throw in something about that as well. That town water goes down Summit. And I think it's really close to connect Freeman to that.
So let's see.
Tim, is that correct?
No DHCD approval of the LDA, connect to town water. No local preference. Okay, what else?
I was wondering, Harry, you said that we need, more of a description of the property. And I didn't know if Kathleen, as a realtor, could look at that property and say how to describe it better.
Do we want like a marketing type of description? Like I would write if I was gonna put it in the multiple listing?
I don't know. I mean, it's bounded by roads that I don't know if they're paper roads or real roads. It's got a slope. How do you?
I think some of them are not constructed. I've got,
Well, you have the Falco drawing there that is pretty descriptive.
yes, I do.
Yeah.
I do, yes.
Mhm. Yeah, so I don't know how much more you thought we should have there. But I think your earlier question, I think at this point, we could potentially ask Laura at MHP to take a look at it, or we ask Rebecca to polish it up for us.
Yeah, I'd say, I don't know which way is the way that you've typically gone in the past. So that's why I asked.
Mhm. I mean, we have had town help. We've had times when it was just Laura that really did it. So it's kind of maybe who's available and who can do it.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, I think we can certainly ask Laura to take a look at it if she has time, but Rebecca would be the one who issues it and is the contracting
Yep.
officer for it.
Right.
So maybe she ultimately has to take that on.
Yeah. And she took over the 95 Lawrence one and then kind of dealt with anything with KP Law that she felt needed a little extra, explanation or clarification. So I think if she was willing, if she could do that, that would be the best.
Yeah, here's the Falco site plan. I think the street that's constructed is up here and then turns, let's see, Chequesset Neck Road is down at the bottom. And I believe what happens is the pavement comes up here
Mhm.
along Highland, and then it turns right on Freeman,
Right.
and then it goes up Summit over the top. And I think that's where the water main goes also.
Yeah, that's what it
And-
looks like. I'm looking at an aerial of it, and that's what it looks like. There appears to be trees on the rest of Freeman and Highland.
Yeah. And it's this parcel 112. So I can make these changes and then send it over to Rebecca Slick.
Is that parcel 112 accessed? Are we talking about the house that's behind it? Is that 112? Or are you talking, oh no, no, you're talking about R1. So the house that's behind it, how is that accessed? Off of Grandview Street?
Yes, I think so.
Okay. And how are we going to access this? Off of Freeman?
I think so. There's
Yes.
a dirt drive that goes in through there down Freeman.
Can somebody tell me where is Summit relative to this?
To the right of this picture.
Summit
Yeah.
is parallel to Highland to the right on this, Jim,
So it's on the right-hand side?
of this, yes.
Yeah.
I recall looking and finding the curb stop on this property, and it's right on the corner of, I think, 112.
Where Highland meets Freeman, probably.
Yeah.
That Freeman Ave, which is adjacent to parcel 112, is a dirt road. And Grandview is even less so. It's probably what we would call a sand road.
Yeah. You can see on this plan just where the cursor is the edge of the pavement.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so you go up Highland, you turn right on the paved portion of Freeman, and then you turn left on Summit to go up over the hill. So Summit is over to the right.
Mhm.
But don't you turn off of Chequesset Road? Isn't it called Summit at that point?
Yeah, but
Well-
one is Summit Ave, one is Summit Street.
Mhm. Okay.
Summit Street is what is parallel to Highland, and I think before Highland is Summit Ave.
Mhm.
My recollection, the curb stop for this is on the lower right-hand corner of parcel 112. So it's at the corner of Highland and Freeman Avenue.
That makes sense.
Yeah. That would make sense.
The arrow is, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would make sense. And I, I figured that this plan would be attached to the RFP as further documentation. So are we agreed that what I'll do is I'll fix these questions that Gary asked about, that remove the local preference requirement, remove the DHCD approval of the land disposition agreement, and change the requirement, and add the requirement that it connects to town water, and then ship it over to Rebecca to see what she can do with it.
Yes, the other one was remove the reference to CPA funding.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay. Okay, similarly, so if that's okay on that one, I'll do that. On the other RFP for just the general RFP to acquire land for housing, I think that's also in shape to send to somebody else to do something with. I assume again that that's Becky. And I think that one's in much better shape because it's a little bit more general. Let's see. I've got it if people want to see it.
I thought it looked really good, Harry. My one question was, I think we're assuming maybe some potential property might come from someone that might be overwhelmed to look at this and to have to fill it out. And I'm wondering, I think we have to put this in the central register, but is there another more, folksy way we can put this forward too?
We have to post it in town hall. I think we have to put a notice in a local paper, and it also has to go to the central register. But there's no reason why we can't basically get a list of addresses from Nancy Vale of every parcel of 10 acres or more and send them a note that says, we just issued an RFP. If you're interested in offering your land for housing, take a look at it.
I think to Elaine's point, though, we need for not to be disrespectful in any way, but we need this for dummies so that there's bullet points and that somebody who is possibly thinking of it doesn't get scared off by
Right.
how significant this is. And maybe, it leads with contact information where, one of us maybe can hold their hand and, say, this is what we're thinking or whatever, and help them with it.
Right, I thought along the same line, do we really need 6 copies of this?
Yeah, I think that's a throwback to a former time. We'll have to deal with electronic copies.
Accessible.
We could just deal with one paper copy and an electronic copy, but we probably do need a paper copy with real signatures on it.
What does the word attainable mean in affordable and attainable housing?
I think that was Chatham's term for property, for housing that's not big A affordable. So anything above 80% AMI. And they say down here, the very first paragraph. Maybe I can zoom in a little bit. Well, maybe not that much. Yeah. Yeah, see, they say affordable and obtainable, 30% up to 120% of AMI.
Why do we need to qualify it in such a way, though?
I think it's people were using the word workforce housing, and attainable housing is kind of a substitute, kind of buzzword in a way.
I just wonder if we should have defined it somewhere. When I first read it, I wasn't sure what it was, and I'm not sure what
Right.
that would mean to someone uninitiated.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
to me, somebody that has no idea, people, again, respectfully, don't buy and sell real estate on a regular basis, and they're really not familiar with how it works. I do it all the time, and I read this and my eyes roll back in my head and go, are you kidding me? I mean, to me, a lot of people don't even know what an RFP is. I think we need something that's a little bit catchier. Obviously, we need to have specifics for people, but I feel like we need something that draws people in, that doesn't scare them off, that says, we're seeking proposals for the purchase of a parcel of land suitable for affordable housing. I mean, do we have to give them so much of the detail? Is that required?
Well, I think this is usually where the lawyer pushes back and says, well, this is a legal document and we've got to be precise and we've got to be clear about what our intentions are. And, it's fine to have a conversation with somebody who says, yeah, we're really looking to see if there's a piece of land we can acquire to build affordable housing on. But, you don't rewrite purchase and sale agreements to be purchase and sale agreements for dummies. They're
No, but you don't
pepper-
lead with the purchase and sale either, Harry. I mean, it's a two-step
Sure.
process.
Yeah.
I feel like we're missing the marketing, the hook part. The purchase and sale comes, after they agree, and then there's an offer, which is 1 or 2 pages. I feel like this is like 4 steps down the road.
I think, though, the RFP in a way is the formal document. And if we want to sort of market the fact that we're putting out an RFP, that's where a sort of flyer or advertisement in the paper or whatever would come into play. But I think adhering to sort of the legalese of
Yeah.
the
of
actual
course.
RFP document makes sense. But I think that once this is released, that's the actual document the town has to submit to get proposals. That's where we should actually market what we're doing.
Does the list that we get from Nancy Vale have phone numbers?
Say that again, I'm sorry.
There's a list of available property. Let's just say we generate a list of all property above 2 acres. I don't know what the right size is, but if it includes a phone number, then I think we could divvy it up and just make calls.
I think all we need are addresses, and then I think we need the hook.
A
And
mailer.
then I think we could put our number on it, but I think people could really be put off by us calling them.
Really?
I would be.
What about a mailer?
Yeah, mailer would be.
Yeah,
fine.
that's what I'm saying. I think we should mail them the, flyer for dummies.
Yeah.
Maybe with this behind it, but maybe just the flyer for dummies and then have a conversation with them.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think the document pretty much has got to be something very like this. But there's no reason why you can't lead with, something that's more of a public relations piece or press release that says, hey, this is what we're doing.
So
But,
can
you
I
know,
ask a question about the deadline on it? I mean, is there a reason we need to put a deadline on it? And if there is, why would it be January of 2022? Or is that just a placeholder?
Well, yeah, there is a reason why there's a deadline, because essentially that's what, that's what happens with public procurement. The date I sort of picked because I was trying to work my way backwards from getting proposals, having enough time to evaluate them, pick one, and still make a funding request for the annual town meeting. The due date could be earlier. I don't think it can be much later than that. And, the document probably doesn't have to be out in circulation for more than about 60 days. So, if we were ready by the beginning of November, then maybe the beginning of January would be when we'd want responses. But you do need a cutoff.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree with what Mike was saying, that, we need this document, but then we also need to sell it, to put it out there with press releases and a flyer that says, if you're interested, contact us, and here's the link to the RFP if but
We're here to help.
we're here to help, right?
Yeah. So how shall we proceed?
Well, I think getting it out, it doesn't cost, you've put in all the work, Harry. It doesn't cost much to put it out in the paper. Well, maybe it does these days. I can't remember how much it costs to put it in the local papers, but
No, but it's just one legal ad.
yeah.
I'm not worried about the cost of publishing the thing.
Mhm. Yeah.
Is the question, do we think that it's ready to roll the way it is, or do we need to have someone else put eyes on it?
I would like someone else to put eyes on it. I had at one time a mass certified public purchasing official certification, but it expired about 3 years ago. So it's not current. So things change. Mike?
Yeah, I think it's probably good enough to send to Rebecca Slick. And see
Mhm.
if she can put her eyes on it.
Would it be good to have the select board look at it, Mike, before we send it out?
I don't really think that the select board needs to. Well, I guess we could, but if the trust is putting it out,
Yeah.
I think we don't need to have the select board look at it. We can just put it out through the town administration.
Okay.
We
I
already
would-
know the select board supports it in theory because of the prior things we've discussed with them.
I think also it's like the trust is operating as the trust
Yeah.
and with its own, authority
Mhm.
to do this. So it has access to administration, and certain things probably need to go, to the select board. If someone were to, propose selling a very large lot that the trust can't afford to buy, but the town may be interested in it, then it could be brought to the board at that time.
I would certainly let the select board know what we're doing. I don't-
Sure, sure.
There's nothing to be gained by being secretive about.
Oh, yeah,
something
no,
that's paper.
I was just, thinking, it probably doesn't have to be an agenda item for the select board unless they want to make it one.
Mhm.
So do I understand from looking at this that we're not going to look at anything until January 24th because we're going to look at everything at one time. And then we have 120 days before we respond or to respond? Am I getting that correctly?
Yeah, because and that's fairly typical that you see 60, 90, 120 days for evaluating and responding to RFPs. The one for 95 Lawrence Road is 120 days. And this RFP gives us the option to do a geotechnical investigation if we want to, you know, perk test or a test well. It gives us the option to have an appraisal done if we want to see whether the offered price is objectively reasonable. So there's the due diligence of looking at all the proposals and saying, you know, these two make sense and these three are non-starters. But then you've got all the due diligence that goes with buying a piece of property to deal with.
So devil's advocate to that. I mean, do we really think we're going to get multiple proposals?
Don't know, maybe not. Maybe we only get
To
one.
me, I mean, I had said to Harry at the beginning of the meeting, I have been asked to market a larger parcel in town. And I'm still evaluating it for the people. I have let them know that potentially the town would consider it for affordable housing, that we have been looking at larger parcels. There's no way a person that wants to sell their parcel that would consider working with the town is going to wait all that time. That would just shoot themselves in the foot. And so I don't know if that is the best plan. I don't know. I mean, I don't think the other folks we've spoke about would feel that that is good timing either. I mean, to me, typically we put something under contract and then the contingencies take all the time. We don't take all the time to vet the property while the seller twiddles their thumbs and then say, oops, sorry, we're not going to buy it. Like, before we've even negotiated a price. And so I feel like right now the sellers hold the card. So unless we think that there is somebody in town sitting on a large parcel that doesn't even know that they could, you know, work with the town, but would really want to work with the town, that we may be handicapping ourselves by putting those types of deadlines on.
Well, 120 days doesn't mean we have to take 120 days, right?
That's true.
If we got something,
Well,
one good
yeah,
one right away.
yeah, all it does is it obligates somebody who responds to keep their proposal open for that long. It doesn't, it doesn't mean that we have to take that long. But, unfortunately, this is a process that was not designed by me. It was a process that was designed by the legislature. We have to, for example, put evaluation criteria that tell people who are responding exactly how we're going to evaluate their proposals. And the ones in this one are about as vanilla as they can get. But
so let me ask this. Does somebody can we circumvent this RFP?
I've been thinking along those lines, Kathleen, is maybe we should do this RFP, but independent of the RFP, maybe we should have a warrant item on the town meeting warrant for this spring that says we want to borrow, pick a number, up to $5 million to acquire land, so that we would essentially have the money in our pocket, which would make it much more attractive and viable going forward with a purchase.
That absolutely would be true, Gary. But to me, it's even just the making the commitment to work with someone. I mean, for example, I'm meeting with these folks on Sunday to really assess the property. I would expect that we'd be ready to market it within pretty short order. So to then say that we're going to take, I don't know, 5 months to decide if we want to work with them, if they want to work with us, I just don't think would be prudent. But if they were able to say, this is where we're planning to market the property, Kathleen, yes, you can tell the town, that we're interested in marketing the property. And if they want to work with us, they can make an offer and blah, blah, blah. I mean, I don't think most people are so altruistic in this market that they're just going to be like, yes, I'd like to work with the town at such a, advantageous price. So I think we likely are going to have to pay market value to get something.
Mhm.
Who knows? But so if, as long as we can circumvent this, and if they don't respond to the RFP, these aren't the rules we're playing for, then I'm fine with it.
Can I ask, how did Eastham handle either the Tea Time or the strip mall acquisition?
They went
don't-
directly to the owners of the strip mall.
And they said, but they must have had some authorization to spend money.
No, I think they then took it before town meeting after that with the number in the
So
thing.
Yeah.
it took months and months, as what you were saying, is that they didn't.
No,
They
go
negotiated
ahead,
a
Harry.
deal. Yeah, they negotiated a deal and they took that deal to town meeting. They have to, as part of that, they've got to file a uniqueness declaration that explains why they didn't use the procurement process, why this piece of property was, it had to be this one.
Is that what Sea Camps has to do too?
Yeah. And that's one of the documents that we would have had to have put together, had we negotiated with any of the private landowners we've talked to.
Mhm.
From talking with council, they're not a big deal. They generally don't generate outrage that there's been a secret backroom deal. But you do have to identify why you didn't use the public procurement process to do it.
It seems to me also that if we did this thing now, and we
Yep.
didn't get a response, we could then argue that we have to go the uniqueness route and be on firm ground. Does that have any value?
It does. And, frankly, it wouldn't surprise me if we went through this exercise and didn't get any responses. That's
Yeah.
entirely possible.
But
Right.
would that put us in a position to do it differently the next time?
It certainly allows us to say this strategy doesn't work. We need a different one.
Yeah.
And what about if a seller is ready to market their property on the open market? Does that kind of force our hand as a town and say that we don't have the opportunity to, go the procurement route because we're dealing with an unprecedented seller's market and a limited amount of large parcels of land?
Yeah, and that's generally the justification for buying a specific piece of property, that it addresses a specific need the town has. And in the context of what's available, it's the only alternative. But you can't play games. You can't say, I want to buy a computer, and anybody is free to make a proposal for selling computers to the town, but it has to have a fruit on the outside.
Right. But
You
I
can't
don't
do
think, we're looking to play games. My only
No.
concern is that we are limiting ourselves. And perhaps we don't have a lot of players that are going to fit this RFP in an ideal world. And so to limit it in any way, because of timing, I just wouldn't want us to do that. So the fact that the RFP exists, but a potential seller could talk to us directly, or if they list their property, we could talk with them directly, satisfies my worry about that. So I'm good.
I believe that to be true.
Okay. And to Gary's point, I do think, and we'd have to, maybe talk about what town meeting's stomach is for giving money for something that we don't even have a name for. But it would certainly go a long way if somebody was more concerned about getting money quickly.
It's certainly a much tougher sell at town meeting to say, give me $5 million and I'll tell you afterwards how it all worked out. I mean, that did not work out well when Provincetown tried to build a police station. And in fact, they still haven't built it. I think town meeting is much more receptive to, this is a deal we've negotiated, and we've negotiated it carefully. We feel it's a good deal, and we're asking you to step up and provide the financial backing. I'd much rather do that than ask for a blank check, because you know, there's no guarantee that we'll get it.
Right. Understood.
Yeah, I think this is a way to get the word out more than we have. I mean, our house, this is the concept of the Housing Angels, but Housing Angels is a nice brochure, but this is an actual outreach and effort that hopefully would get some attention and that we could use to, you know.
And I'd like to be able to, on a purely another reason, I'd like to be able to tell the people that are supporting us that we're making the effort to try and identify properties that we can use to generate more housing.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's a little different from saying, well, we made 6 phone calls and we don't have anything to buy. So where are we on this? Is this something that I can ask Becky to take a look at?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Kathleen, is there a standard type of flyer that you prepare with properties, or should we come up with one ourselves? Or
You mean if I'm selling a property?
no? Well, in this case, we're soliciting the property, but
I don't solicit properties. I mean, once they come to me and say, Kathleen, we want you to sell it, I you know, figure out how I want to market it.
no, I'm just trying to think. Okay, so we're going to ask Rebecca to take a look at it. And at that point, we want to have some kind of an outreach program. I'm just trying to figure out, okay, what's the next step in that? So do you want us to put together some kind of a flyer, Harry?
Yeah, I think we do want to do that. I think that the timing is, we're not quite in a hurry to do that just yet, because my guess is that this thing's got to be out there for 30, 45 days to give somebody a chance to evaluate it and put together a response. So, you know, if we were to stick with an end of January due date, that means this thing probably isn't going to get published much before the beginning of December. So we have time to work on that.
Okay.
Okay, so I will ask Becky to take a look at it and see what she thinks. Support for creation of accessory dwelling units. Sharon is not with us tonight. What's your pleasure?
Let's
We
talk
have-
about it next time.
Yeah. I did attend a meeting with the CDP and the Homeless Prevention Council, and they are working on a proposal to use some of the ARPA funds for at least a regional help office for ADUs. So, you know, it's being talked about. I mean, I think there's interest across our region to do something about it. So that's one effort that is going on. And we can keep talking about it later.
Let's see here. Do I have okay. Next meeting? I,
Want to do?
I will be gone the week of October 26th.
Well, what do we think we're gonna talk about at our next meeting? Then we can maybe figure out how quickly we need to have it.
Well, let's see. Well, we still have the mission statement is kind of in the wind. I think we decided what we were going to do about housing needs requests to the CPC. And we decided what we were going to do about budget requests. The two RFPs are going to go to Becky. I'm not sure that we're going to have anything. I'm not sure of the timing of getting anything back from her. She
Harry,
strikes me. Yep, go ahead.
we should vote, if in fact we're settled on the CPC request and we just have to finalize it, we should vote.
Yep.
On that.
Okay,
A request for CPC for the allocation of the 10%.
okay. Okay, so is, when you were talking about $50,000 to $60,000, is that the 10% that we're talking about?
Roughly.
Okay,
Once again, I
Okay.
don't have the actual number. I'm not sure when I will get a number, but and traditionally that's how.
oh, can we have a motion to request the
10% satisfied.
10% support?
Yeah, 10%. It's called the set aside for housing.
Right,
Housing reserve or some housing reserve. Yeah.
Yeah. Be designated for the housing trust for the purpose of developing affordable housing, including, what did we say we were going to use it for? Was that the ADU program or?
That was the
we
good
talked
faith
about
one.
using it for possibly a deposit or binder on a purchase agreement, and
Binder.
failing that for general housing purposes.
Okay, so that, we don't have to say it's limited to that, but that's an example of the use.
Mhm.
Is that your motion, Gary?
That's my motion.
I'll
Second.
second.
For a second. Okay, we got Gary and Kathleen. I'm gonna have to go to the tape to get this. Any debate on the motion? Okay. Roll call vote. Kathleen,
Aye.
Elaine,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Gary,
Aye.
Michael.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. That's 6 in favor and none opposed. Motion's adopted. Next meeting agenda. Before we find a date, let's talk about the agenda. But I was thinking sometime in early to mid-November myself, just because a lot of what we've been talking about is just going to take some time to develop. One thing we haven't talked about is whether there is support for ADUs.
I thought we were waiting for Sharon on that.
The other question that I would have is, we still have the potential land conversation that Harry and I and Mike are having. And then I have this other land. So what do we do? Like, let's say in 2 weeks, I'm ready to market this land and I think it's something we should consider. Can we have a meeting? What do we do? Do we need to consider it? Like, how do we want to vet things like that, I guess?
Well, we don't necessarily have to schedule a meeting. We can always leave it, with the understanding that if we have a meeting, it's going to be Monday at 7 o'clock on some Monday, to be determined later, and just leave it to the call of, basically to the call of the chair to call a meeting. I think in default of anything else, I probably would want to meet sometime in November, no matter what.
Well, why don't we schedule a November meeting so we at least have it scheduled? I mean, for myself, it's a lot easier for me to make sure I'm available if I have something written down. But then
Yep.
if we need another meeting for some reason, can the chair call one?
Yep.
Okay,
Well, let's see, November Mondays are the 7th, the 14th, and the 21st, which is probably, that's Thanksgiving week.
Harry, Mondays in November, I think are the 1st, the 8th, and
Oh,
the,
I'm looking, yeah, those are Sundays, I'm sorry. You're absolutely correct. 1st, 8th, 15th, but probably the 22nd and 29th probably are gonna just run into the usual holiday, nothing gets done.
Right.
So my inclination would be to do either the 8th or the 15th.
I think we should do it the 15th because I suspect we're gonna have a meeting prior to that.
Okay,
Optimistically, I'm gonna say that.
Mhm.
okay, well, we'll just hold on the agenda, you know, you just send me stuff, I'll put it on the agenda,
Okay.
okay? The
Mhm.
only other thing I have is approval of the minutes of September 13th,
so move.
which I,
Now you
Okay.
have to make a couple corrections.
okay, and they are,
Number 7, you've got the word building twice in front of inspector.
yes, I do.
And number 10, you have the word session twice at the very end of the sentence.
Yep. Those are
Otherwise, I
copy-
love them.
Okay. So we had a motion from Gary, was it? I'm
Move-
sorry.
Moved as corrected.
Second,
Okay. And Kathleen. Okay, so that's as corrected. Save. And, okay, so roll call, all those in favor, Kathleen,
aye.
Elaine,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Gary? Yeah, you must be muted, Gary. Gary?
Aye.
And Michael?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, so that's 6 in favor and none opposed. And a motion to adjourn.
So
Do you wanna do
moved.
the 20th? Harry, do you want to do
Hmm?
the September 20th meetings, or did we do them both?
I didn't put them on the agenda. I didn't put it on the agenda.
Oh, okay,
Oh, that was,
right.
Do you want me to give you the
Okay.
corrections or we can't do that if it's not on the agenda?
you can do that. Let me, September 13th? No, it's the 20th.
September 20th.
Okay, let me find it. Minutes, yeah, that's a one pager. Go ahead.
So you've got Sharon attending and not attending. And I think she did not attend.
No, she was absent. She was in the dunes.
And
Okay,
then on number 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, in the 5th line, it's, well, the sentence should read, Mr. Turkanian reported that the FY 2021, you're missing the
Okay.
T,
yep.
and
That it?
that's it. That's it.
Okay, so there'll be a clean set of minutes to approve when we get to that. Okay, motion to adjourn was made. Kathleen,
Aye.
Elaine,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Gary,
Aye.
Michael.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. That's 6 in favor, none opposed, so we are adjourned. Looks like I got some work to do.
Yep. Good luck, Kathleen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. Good
Bye,
night,
guys.
all.
Okay.
Night.